All right. G'day, g'day. Welcome back to Collectivitis, podcast where we dissect the disease that is collectivism. My name's Pietro. I've got with me today both my wingmen, my co-hosts, my sidekicks, Floyd and Max. How you doing, fellas?
Can't complain.
Yeah, it's all right.
Just
Why
all
can't
right.
you complain, Max? What's happened?
Well, boys, first of all, three's a party. There's three of us here. That's a good reason to not complain. Second reason is the establishment copped a dagger in the back yesterday.
The establishment copped a bullet in the ear or something like that.
Well,
I
that
don't know.
too.
Did they? Well, I don't. Okay, well, so the Don. We're obviously talking about the Don, unless you've been living under a rock. Do you reckon there's anyone in the world that doesn't know that Donald Trump's won? Because I reckon this could be like it would be
Yes.
just about every single person.
I reckon one of those people in the Chinese labor camps or another labor camp probably doesn't know or doesn't care. But that's all I could think of off the top of my head.
They're just wondering why have the tariffs been hitting us hard these last couple of days?
Why am I working less? Why is my industry being quashed? I reckon even those remote, untouched tribes in the Amazon have heard about this. The word has spread.
That
Well, they
was
got
the other
Starlink now, so
True.
They just saw some sky. What's it called? The writing the
Chemtrails.
Chemtrails. Yeah,
Well, yeah.
they just read some chemtrails that said, Kamala, you're fired. That's the
Kamala has
title.
finally been unburdened by what has been.
That was what I was tossing up with the titles for the episode. Was either Kamala, you're fired, or unburdened by what could have been was going to be my other idea, which what could have been Kamala, and we're unburdened by her. It's always funnier if you have to explain the joke. Anyway,
That's what I spent half my life doing, telling shit jokes and then explaining them.
yeah, they have to be real shit for you to have to explain them. So that's what we aim. That's what we aim for here. Only the good stuff. Well, I'll let you guys. Any hot takes? Any hot takes on the issue before we delve?
nothing that isn't a bad joke that I'd have to explain.
I think the three of us, we're going to have this issue where we want to be polite and let the other person speak, and then no one speaks. So
just everyone talk over the top of each other. Do like a proper podcast.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds good.
all right, sounds good, perfect, cool, yeah, awesome.
And it's just a nightmare to listen to. People listening are like, "Shut the fuck up!" But it's but it sounds like there's a vibrant conversation going. So just talk.
Quick hot take then. Quick hot take. We'll start it off with the fact that although we are super happy for what we believe in, that Trump has won, or more so that Kamala has lost, I think it is important to remember that, there's the saying going around that it's not red versus blue, it's a state versus you. But, I mean, we don't get many wins as libertarians, and if something is slightly libertarian, let's take it. Let's celebrate. Just over the last 24 hours, I've found it equally hilarious and frustrating listening to the whinges come out again. Circa 2016. Just here we go again. It's equally hilarious and frustrating. It is pissing me off having to listen to it, but I'm also just like, suck on that.
Well, I've wanted to say that my Twitter algorithm for some reason isn't showing me that. I'm just getting the positive stuff. So I actually want to see. I was looking real hard just to see these people crying, but I couldn't find it. So maybe.
Well, I'm talking about more in person. Like this, just the rhetoric I'm hearing from people around me. I think they're probably a little bit too
Floyd?
embarrassed to say
I don't want to
stuff.
confirm or deny that.
Well, your comment makes me think that you work from home, because I can guarantee.
I do not work with a political team. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
We haven't. Trump hasn't come up once, or like general politics. I've been the one who's been like, "Hey, do you know there was an election in something this time?" And yeah, so I don't really work with political people.
Yeah, right. No, because it's definitely in person. You get way better wins because your algorithm's fixed for you now. You don't get to see that much of it. I don't know. Do you guys think my thought is that there's definitely less of the like mental breakdowns that there were last time. when Trump won. I think partly, obviously, like there's some obvious differences. What first of all, like Trump's won before. It's kind of deja vu. If anything, they're getting hit by PTSD rather than like the initial shock and trauma. It's like the difference between getting shot and hearing a bang that reminds you of the time you were getting shot. It's worse the time you were getting shot, right? Let's just that's the first analogy. And then also the fact that this time around Trump was the favorite. Like the Hillary Clinton one was like it was literally meant to be this annoying upstart fascist was going to lose and everyone knew he was going to lose. And then he won. Like that's so much worse than this time around. It was like, fuck, this fascist looks like he's going to win again. Oh, God, I hope the fascist doesn't win again. Ah, shit. He won. Like that, there's that different feeling. And also they know he's not going to end the world. Like they've seen what a Trump presidency looks like. It's just a fucking him getting accused of being a fascist for.
But the ones who are throwing tantrums still, because there are still a couple that I've seen online, they're the ones that still think he's going to end the world. They're like, oh, you just didn't have enough time to last time. This time he's going to do it.
Oh, there's definitely more than a fucking couple. There's still like everywhere. Like
no, there's only two, Pietro.
Yeah, and I'm looking right at him. Well, what was the final vote tally? Let me have a look at the final vote tally.
Got it up here. So in the popular vote, he is up by 4.7 million votes. Just in the popular. And for the whole electoral college, he's currently up by 69 votes.
Nice, yeah.
With two states, with Nevada
Stop
and Arizona.
The count. Stop the count.
With Nevada and Arizona to still be counted. There's an extra 17 that he's leading quite strongly.
No, fuck Nevada and Arizona. Stop the count.
Too big to rig.
Well, yeah, it is too big to rig. There's a couple of interesting things about that. First of all, yeah, there's more than a couple. There's 67, almost 68 million people just in the US who are fucking deluded, who still picked this shell of a person.
Well, there's still a heap of votes to be counted, so that those numbers are going to get even bigger. Like California, for example, is only 55% counted, so you can give Kamala like another probably 5 million votes there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, but the other,
but still, he's not as popular as Joe Biden. Joe Biden got more votes, so
he got 81 mil. So I think, I don't think she'll get there. I think Trump should get close to that number or surpass it.
Well, I saw some conspiracy theories. I saw this graph that someone memed. In fact, I can probably even show it. Where they're comparing the previous vote counts and 2024. Here, I'll share my screen. And 2024 does seem like the anomaly. So 2020 seems like the anomaly where like there's this yellow line showing the Democrat vote every year, and it's pretty like stagnant. And then in 2020, it randomly had this massive jump. And so the question is still like, well,
how many of those were legitimate votes?
Cheat. Yeah.
But to be fair, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if there are like more votes this election than ever before, like with these states that haven't finished being counted. But yeah, I mean, like that 2024 number is gonna get up close to that at least.
Yeah.
But still, I would think that 2024 would outweigh 2020 in terms of number of votes, considering like the messaging, this is the most important election ever, which I know they say that every time, but this one probably has had the most build up.
Well, and this graph is also misleading because it makes it look 50, like it makes it look like it was half the number of votes in all the other years and twice as much, but it doesn't. It starts at 50, and you're right. I think it will probably end up being about the same. But anyway, we'll let the conspiracy theorists theorize their conspiracies.
We're right here, man.
About 2020. But this one, either way, this one was too big to rig. I did want to talk about. So we're celebrating Trump, and we're celebrating partly because it's great because all the people that we think are the worst people in the world screaming and crying and bitching and moaning, and it's fun. I do enjoy the people having mental breakdowns around me in my work life and things like that, and not understanding how to deal with it. And I am undercover in that where I don't tell people I'm happy about Trump winning, but
While you're wearing your MAGA hat in class.
yeah, I'm not brave enough to. They control all the big decisions about like which classes I get next year and my class sizes and stuff. I don't want any of those illegals crossing the border into my classroom. So I'm keeping my fucking mouth shut about that.
What if they supported Trump as well? I mean, it's a 50-50 chance at this point. So
That's true. And that was what a fucking death blow to the replacement theory of how the Democrats were going to win forever was getting all these illegals in and then putting them in swing states and getting them to flip the vote. And then the what was the vote bot from like those minorities that they were looking at was like 45 to 55. So it doesn't even fucking work. But anyway, the point I was going to make, the serious point, because let's be serious at one point, was that now that Trump has won, there were like 6 or 7 things that were actually good about Trump winning. There's a lot that we've talked about that, even Trump is not any better than the Democrats, and there's a lot of things where he falls short on. But there were 6 or 7 points where we definitely are much happier that Trump won than anything else. So one of them was the freeing Ross Ulbricht. I think you corrected me last time on how to say it, Floyd.
Yeah, I think it's Ulbricht. Yeah, I don't know. Potato.
Perfect. Ross.
Yeah.
Ulbricht.
I haven't watched a podcast in the last hour where they've said it, so I can't correct you on it. So
right. Anyway, freeing him on day one. That needs to happen. So that was one of the promises. Ending the Ukraine-Russia war. Trump's been promising that the whole way through. He won't tell us how, but he says that once he talks to Putin, it's going to be over. Okay.
In 24 hours, he says.
Yeah. So that's
bold call.
That's great to say while you're running, and it does get people excited, people like us who don't want to die in a thermonuclear end of the world situation. But okay, that needs to happen. So prove it. He was going to get Elon Musk in charge of reducing the size of the government, and Elon Musk then talked to Ron Paul and brought him and talked about Ron Paul coming in, and they've been communicating over Twitter. So bringing Elon Musk and Ron Paul to cut the size of the government, it's not quite a promise because the promise was Elon, but Elon's going to bring Ron Paul. But I'd say it's a tangential to the promise, so that needs to happen. He's spoken about getting the federal government out of education, which is huge. There's what's the guy? I think it's Corey DeAngelis, the guy who was who's been like doing all the work in the US about the school.
Was he the one he tweeted today, like make me the head of the Department of Education, and then I'm going to shut it down and lose my job?
It's that guy. Let me just check that I've got the right name for him because I don't want to say the wrong name. But I'm pretty sure it's that guy. So Corey DeAngelis. And he's been doing a lot of the school choice stuff. So like the school voucher system stuff in the US that was taking off. So putting someone like him, for example, in charge of the getting the federal government out of education. He promised to appoint libertarians to his cabinet. He promised that at the Libertarian Convention while he was getting booed. So who knows whether that stands. And then there's the classic. This promise is actually an old promise from 2015. Build the wall.
Build the wall.
End illegal immigration.
Finish the wall.
And deport like all of the illegals, right? So,
I mean, I was there last year. Can confirm there is a wall. I don't know where it finishes there. I mean, I don't think they've got it the whole way, but there is a wall.
What is it, like a foot high or something?
It's like I saw it with my own 2 eyes. It was like, I don't know, 10, 15 meters tall, metal, with like gaps just small enough that a human wouldn't fit through, like just enough to like tantalize them and be like, come on. Oh, sorry, you don't fit.
But didn't you go to California? That wall's probably there to keep the Californians.
Well, I was on both sides of the border.
Okay, right. You fit through.
Yeah, I fit through. Funnily enough, I think I told this story last year, but I actually entered Mexico illegally. I didn't get stamped in. They just waved the car through because we drove over the border, waved us through, and then I went to do the right thing at an airport in Mexico and be like, oh, hey, I didn't get stamped in. Like, should I be stamped in? And I just got roasted by this like lady at a desk who was like, when you enter a country, you have to be like stamped in, everything like that. I was like, I tried to. They didn't let me.
Gringo, mate.
Absolute gringo. Anyway, I entered Mexico legally, and I voted in their election.
Yeah. That was what I was going to say. You should have voted in there.
Funnily enough, they were having an election like a month after I was there.
Anyway, so those 6 points. What do we think the chances are of those happening? Are there any that you think are absolutely not going to happen? Are there any that you think there's a good chance? What are your thoughts on them all?
I reckon you get the free, Ross. It depends how much of the Conservatives put up a fight. But I mean, if he doesn't do it day one, then he's a bit screwed over from at least the Libertarians, who will just kind of give him crap constantly because of that. And the Department of Education, I think that's gonna stay. The wall might get extended. I don't know, might get finished, but then he'll go and say we need one for Canada next. And Elon, I won't watch and see with the whole Elon stuff. I mean, yeah, hopefully they kind of did take some of it down, but yeah, can never tell with Trump. That's the thing.
I think he will. Sorry, you go.
Sorry, you go, Max.
I think he will play a big part in the ending of the Russia-Ukraine war. I don't think he'll do it in 24 hours, like he said. He'll try and convince everybody he did it in 24 hours. And in 4 years' time, when he's like reflecting on his presidency, he will say how he ended it in 24 hours. But I don't think he will.
Well, if he gives a strong enough signal that there's not going to be any more funding from the US to Ukraine, like that is like Zelensky's going to start fucking looking over his shoulder and thinking, am I about to get fucking King hit assassinated here? I'm going to have to sue for peace because this is over. Europe's not going to pull the weight that the US has been pulling. In fact, especially if the US pulls out, there's no way that Europe doubles down on the whole thing. And if the signal is, hey, this war's over, we've said this war is over, we, the US, not we obviously, but if the US says, hey, we who pushed this war, ignited this war, caused this war, and incited it when you guys were suing for peace, if we've said that now you're suing for peace, you're probably going to fucking sue for peace. And they're going to give up a couple of those territories. But I think that it might not be 24 hours, but if the signal is simply that they're not going to fund it anymore, I think that probably goes. The other one that I didn't mention, that Trump bringing in RFK.
That was the point I was going to make.
Yeah, so
huge.
Bringing him in to be whatever the head of the FDA, or you have him be involved with shutting down or following up on the CIA and the FBI and whatever the fuck their corruption is, and like releasing there was talk of like releasing the Kennedy assassination documents, the classified documents around the Kennedy assassination. That'd be fucking cool. I don't know if it was actually a campaign promise, but that would be pretty sick.
Well, he mentioned it. I think it might have been a campaign promise in 2016. And then like this is what I heard on the Rogan podcast. And then did he mention that like he had a look at the files and shut them straight away? He's like, there's stuff in there that could get people who are still alive into like heaps of trouble.
I think they cautioned him against it.
Yeah,
his advisors or whoever.
He actually sounded
with a gun to his head.
He sounded like he was quite humbled, and it's very rare for this man to be humbled. So I sort of was like, "Oh, okay, must be serious."
Well, there's like the running joke that all the presidents, the first thing that happens to them when they become president is they get taken into this little room and they get shown the JFK assassination from a different angle, and they find out that it was the fucking CIA or whoever it was, and they're like, "Okay, fuck, so I'm gonna play ball here, otherwise they're gonna assassinate me."
It's a Bill Hicks joke, I believe.
Yeah.
Alex Jones. Sorry. Oh, you haven't heard that conspiracy theory? Oh, okay, don't worry about it then.
Well, enlighten us. Go on.
It's the idea that Bill Hicks, he didn't die. He just became Alex Jones. Because if you look at it, Alex Jones doesn't get prominent until Bill Hicks dies. So yeah, that's that whole thing, and he got his face done, and he became Alex Jones. So I adopt that one. So
I like it. That's cool.
I was just going to say, RFK's appointment, is it going to be like the head of the Department of Health? Is that what it is, I think?
Yeah, well, what's the FDA? I forget what the acronym stands for.
Because the FDA is like a branch of that, isn't it?
The FDA is the Food and Drug Administration.
Yeah.
So I think it's a federal agency. So I think that would be more down, like it involves food, it involves drugs, and I think it involves vaccines. So like that's obviously the fucking wheelhouse of RFK.
But he had some other really good points that I liked, like things he was going to do with his whole "Make America Healthy Again" campaign, and that was to remove harmful like insecticides and pesticides and chemicals being sprayed on like farming. agriculture. Like obviously there's like the vaccine stuff, it's to remove like artificial shit in food or to like make it harder, which, obviously we're against overregulation, but I don't know, man, you're gonna make concessions. This shit should not be in food. People shouldn't be consuming this, and it is part of the problem that we are just like constantly sick.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. There's everyone's constantly sick. I don't know the ins and outs, but I know that it's pretty fucked up what gets put into foods. Especially
Especially in
I know.
America. Like over here is bad. Over there is next level.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, so that's. I mean, I think the RFK thing. I think he has to put RFK in, right? Well, that's the other thing. He doesn't have to do fucking anything because what he has right now is a mandate to do all the things he said he would do. So he could very easily do most of the things that he's talking about because he's been given the Senate and the House of Reps.
I think you dropped out there for a sec,
Yeah,
Pietro.
you froze.
Okay. I think it's recording at
go
my
again
end,
from the
so
mandate.
It probably recorded. Anyway, I'll go again. Like right now, he's got a mandate to do all of the things that he said he was going to do. Like he's got the Senate, he's got the House, he's got the presidency by some margin. Like it is objectively a landslide. It's over 300 when they said it was going to be razor thin. Like he got every swing state.
I'm going to quickly just say something and then continue. I do want to talk about how close it actually was. Although it was a landslide, it's a lot closer than you think, but we'll come back to that.
Okay,
Just
we'll
bookmark that.
talk about that. Anyway, he's got a mandate to do all of the things that he said he was going to do, but he's actually got no compulsion to do them. Like if someone gets in his ear and convinces him RFK is too dangerous, get rid of him, don't do it. He's got nothing's holding him accountable now because he can never run again for president. Like it's not like RFK can fuck him over the next time round. He is president for the next 4 years, which is probably like close to the last 4 years where he'll be a very young enough to be competent and involved in very many world global affairs anyway. So he can do this however he wants, really, for within his own. Now, does that mean he will? Not necessarily. He probably will do most of the things, and hopefully he takes the message of overwhelming victory. Do what you've promised because that's what we want. But like it's to be seen, and I think it's dangerous that people could still get in his ear and convince him against it.
After 4 years of calling Joe Biden Sleepy Joe and, ragging on him for his cognitive decline, can you imagine if Trump just like started getting Alzheimer's in the next year or so?
It would be the worst karma of all time.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go on, Max. You reckon that the election was not as close, was closer than what I was saying? I actually think it's pretty landslidey.
Well, it's a landslide in terms of the electoral college, but if you look at some states like Wisconsin, which is 10 votes, he won by 0.9%. Where's another one? Philadelphia won by 1.9, so that one was a little bit further out. Michigan won by 1.5%. The way their system works, like those margins aren't very big. Like that Wisconsin for 0.9%, that was less than 30,000 votes, the difference.
30,000.
No, that could so easily be flipped, like Kamala getting an extra 50,000 votes and winning herself by a little bit. And then, that's 10 votes off from the 295. Kamala's up to 236. And like, I know you still got a comfortable margin, but there are a number of states where it is, a couple of percent. So although it looks like a landslide and like, yes, he won the popular vote, the way their system works, it's not as much of a landslide as we think it is.
Yeah, but he won every single one of the swing states. Like, yes, fair enough.
And you look at the
some
trends,
of them are close,
he
but
changed a lot of these states,
Exactly. He won every single one of the swing states. Like
in terms of like the last
obviously
election
swing
results,
states,
it's a landslide
The swing states by their nature, like, are going to be the ones that are close. So whether you win or lose, like they were always going to be the ones that were the closest. There were lots of states that have never been in doubt, which were much closer than usual. Virginia wasn't even meant to be a swing state, and it was in the balance for a large part of the count. What was the other one? Like, if you look at, like, even if you look at New York, now New York, 97% of is reporting. And that's at 55.8 Kamala to 44.2 Donald Trump. New York, he was getting, I'd like to have a look even at the 2020. Like, he was getting way less.
Just pulled that up. 2020, New York was Biden 61%, Trump 38%. So he got 3.2 million votes in 2020 in New York, and this time he got 3.4. So he only went up a little bit, but it's the fact that
Yeah.
the Democrats got
Like
significantly less votes.
that's what six. That's 11 points. Like New York's
Mm.
never been in the
Yeah.
dent. Now I'm not saying it's in the balance, but it's so much closer than it's ever been.
Mm.
The all the other ones that were there were states that were in the dance that had never even been considered a part of it. Now, and the other thing is, yeah, okay, just brushing over the fact that, yeah, sure, he won the popular vote. The Republicans don't win the popular vote. The
Mm.
Republicans never win the popular vote because of, and the whole point of the Electoral College is that they don't want the concentration of the enormous population urban centers to control the vote of the whole country. Like California has so much more that it generally means that the Democrat will always win the popular vote. I think since Reagan, a Republican hasn't won the popular vote. What's that? 81 was Reagan's first term. So that's in 45 years, 44 years, there hasn't been a Republican winning the popular. That makes me like, yes, objectively, if we look at it that way, it's not that close. But considering what they thought was going to be close, this is a landslide. Considering they thought it was razor thin margins, how the US election works, this is a landslide, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, but I think the point I wanted to make is just how easily it could have been a different result based on how tight. Like I know the swing states. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. All you need's one like propaganda campaign or something, Kamala Harris saying Trump did this or something, and it gets those 50,000 to go to her, and then you've lost it.
All you need is one of those trucks, the trucks where they found a bunch of votes last time in Pennsylvania. Oh shit, we just found all these Biden votes in the back of a truck. We forgot to count them, and all of a sudden, Donald Trump goes from being like safe and likely to win to not winning at all. That's all. That's all it took. That was all the difference was. Something else I wanted to talk about, just because I know we don't have that much longer. It's a little bit of a shorter episode today, but something else I wanted to talk about is. So I've got the results in front of me here. I can even share them so that our viewers who watch can ponder them as well. But just how awfully Chase Oliver did, the Libertarian Party candidate. Now,
well, there was a theory that they deliberately chose such an awful Libertarian candidate to try and funnel votes towards Trump.
Well, if you are Donald Trump, there is nothing that could have been better for you than having Chase Oliver, who was a left-leaning, like lots of leftist policies libertarian, who would only steal votes from Kamala Harris. Like there was the whole thing after the convention, people were saying, a lot of the people who were pissed off that Chase Oliver was the candidate, because I don't like Chase Oliver. I think that I would have preferred Rechtenwald, even though he did his own things to screw that up.
Imagine you might just want to close that tab down the tab with the graph. You might just want to just close that
tab with the graph.
Because for me, what I'm seeing right now is it's just flickering between the election graph and then Google.
Mine's showing up all right. I'm not sure what's happening.
Oh fuck! Okay.
Might be your screen. It should just be an image of what I.
Well, I think with the point you just made, like having a left-leaning libertarian candidate who would steal votes from Kamala Harris, I think it's more so the votes that wouldn't have gone to the Libertarians that have then gone to Trump instead. I think that's the bigger factor.
Well, and that's right, and that's what's ended up happening.
And also, now, if RFK ran in the end, obviously he was still on the ballot in a few states because those states are fucking corrupt, but if he had run, do you think Trump would have still won? How many votes do you think he would have got?
Well, that was the big question, whether RFK was stealing more from Democrats or from Republicans.
He still got 600,000 votes.
He still got more than the Libertarian Party candidate.
Are they donkey votes?
And he wasn't running.
Or are they just idiots who are like, oh, I like RFK, completely unaware that he dropped out?
No.
Yeah, so maybe it could have been a protest, just like, oh, I don't like either of them. I'll just vote RFK or...
Well, RFKs are from the states where he wasn't allowed to remove himself from the ballot.
Which was how many states, do we know?
You can look. Actually, you have to click into it. I had a look yesterday. There were still a number of them. off the top of my head, it was maybe, and this is an estimate because I can't remember, maybe like something like 15, 20.
Yeah. Okay.
And some of them were swing states. That's where it's extra corrupt, because it's like every single vote that goes to RFK would have preferred it going to a Trump. Now, yes, sure, someone might still have voted RFK because they found Trump too odious, but that definitely reeks of some very serious fucking corruption if it hadn't gone Trump's way. But yeah, the point, right? So Chase Oliver's extremely low count, 0.4. The Libertarians is a capitulation. Last time in 2020, Joe Jorgensen, who was an awful candidate, by candidate, not by viewpoint measures, but by campaigning metrics, she got 1%, and that was seen as a dismal failure after the previous year, in the 2016 election. What's his name? I can't remember his name. The weed guy, the guy that likes weed. Johnson, Gary Johnson, had gotten 5%, right? So they've gone 5%, 1%, 0.4%. And I think like that is purely reflective of the fact that the vast majority of the Libertarian Party is not the libertarians with the woke left aspects to them, like what a lot of what Chase has. Like Chase was all about wearing masks and all about telling people that it's, you're a danger if you don't get vaccinated. He made some comments around vaccination, and he's pro like transing the kids as long as it's got parental permission and shit like that. Like that aspect of the Libertarian Party does not exist in the same vein that they think it does, and they just jump to Republican when that choice is made clear to them that there isn't someone.
You also had like every second podcast or every like libertarian leaning podcast saying no, don't vote for Trump as well.
That was in the end. That was They came out like that in the last week or two.
Oh shit, man! I've been listening to people for the last 2-3 months saying that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like the libertarian podcast, just like every other philosophical or party podcast or whatever, people generally follow the nexuses of influence, right? Like who are their influential voices? What are they saying? That's how people know what to think and where to vote. Like that is the fact that those podcasts were saying that is indicative that the mood was in that direction for the majority of the party. Like people follow who they follow. I don't know. What do you guys think? I know you're a little less critical than I am of Chase, Floyd.
Yeah, no, I didn't mind Chase. I saw some interviews and stuff with him. Yeah, his he kind of, I don't think he understands when he talks about in the parental consent stuff, around the trans stuff. I don't think he understands what the health system is like. So he seemed a bit out of touch there. But I think a lot of what he was saying was just like more self-governance type of stuff. But then again, he was running for presidential candidate and needed the vote, so maybe he was just saying that. But no, I didn't hate the guy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I think look, I think that the calculation that all the libertarians made and the ones who told other libertarians which way to vote was not that Trump is a more libertarian candidate than Chase. I mean, if it were a choice between putting Chase in the actual presidency or Trump, I think all the libertarians would still admit that, Chase talks about deregulation. He talks about cutting the size of the Federal Reserve and all those things. They're just saying that considering some of the stances he's taken on cultural issues that get so much attention, and he's not so, it's not so worthwhile to throw a vote his way to boost a Libertarian Party that markets itself this way. You may as well vote for someone who is, at least at this election cycle, promising some wins for libertarians and get him over the line, such as the Ross. Like, it's more worthwhile to get Ross Ulbricht free, to get Ron Paul involved, to get Elon Musk involved, to get Vivek Ramaswamy involved, than it is to boost the signal of a party that somehow chose Chase Oliver as their representative.
And I think it was like a not Kamala vote. See, I can't even say her name anymore.
Well, you won't need to.
Yeah, exactly. But in the sense of like, listen, vote. We can't get her in. Vote for Trump. It wasn't so much as like of a Trump vote as it was a not Kamala vote. where it's like, we can't get this person in. Like, this is serious. It's the most important election of our lifetime. Blah 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 blah. Like, you've got to make your vote count, as opposed to where it usually would be. Whoever it was, if it was even like Joe Jorgensen, who wasn't the best candidate either. Where you just be voting like that just because it's like, no, you've got to actually focus your vote this time.
Yeah, no, agreed. And like when Kamala, how people could still have followed Kamala when she got endorsed and started campaigning with Liz Cheney.
Liz and Dick.
Yeah, like the ones who the left had spent 20 years hating for their foreign wars is suddenly campaigning with them, and it didn't budge the polls. Like, is that not the most catastrophic mistake you could have made? Hey, this person that my side has hated for 20 years is now on my side, and I'm going to pretend that they're all cool and didn't cause the death of millions of people around the world, like my side has been saying, and it didn't budge the polls. Like, that boggles the mind how there were still 68 million votes so far for like such an unbelievable piece of shit.
Well, it's the power of the media, mate. You watch the news, and that's what happens. I mean, look at some of our elections, and
well, and that's the other. Like, I hope you're all looking forward to 4 years now of absolute media shitstorm about what a Nazi and racist and how America's horrible. And here we'll get the same thing about how America is lost and who the fuck wants to go there, and they'll have 7,000 school shootings tomorrow morning, and God, you can't live there. It's a horrible place. Like, we get to have all of that again. We get to have all of that to look forward to. With, on top of that, the fact that the debt crisis is probably going to come to a head in these next 4 years, and Trump will look like he's the one who lost America and made it fall. So we've got that to look forward to, which is a real positive. But at least we don't have to figure out how to say Kamala's name. After all this time, we still didn't work it out.
Got to work on your pronunciations, boys. Kamala Ulbricht.
Yeah, but do you know what? There's
Donald.
I don't know who this quote comes from.
Donald Trump.
There's a quote which is, "You should never make fun of someone for mispronouncing a word, because it means they learnt it while reading." So that you shouldn't make fun of that, because it means that this person's actually done some. Well,
I don't know how to read, so take that.
We
I'm
can
illiterate.
make fun of that. Perfect. Do you want to?
I'm glad you're proud of that and you're coming out. Most illiterate people wouldn't say that. So good on you. Illiterate pride. 2025.
Sorry, boys. I've just been reading from the teleprompter today.
Reading? What?
Guessing from the teleprompter.
Yeah, guessing.
It's your earpiece, where's your little earring?
Well, maybe you can be the next victim group. Like, there was the gays and the trans and the blacks and whatnot. Now
I think you could just add an extra color onto the 400 pride flags, and one can be for illiterate.
Well, it can be see-through because you can't read it.
Yeah, just a glass layer, perspex layer on the flag.
Just symbols that don't make any sense but look like letters. I feel like I should be able to read that, but it doesn't make any sense to me. Yep, that
means you're a illiteracist.
Illiterate.
We coined that word here, right?
It's funny because it still ends in racist. Racist.
Illiterate-racist. That's a good way to say it.
I only hate black people who can't read. Sorry, future employers. That was a joke.
Well, I'm glad you're coming out.
If they don't want to be hated by you, they should just learn to read. That's exactly what you're saying.
We'll get ideas that way. So,
all right, perfect. Well, Max is with those hopes of Max's future employment being thoroughly slashed. I reckon that's a good spot to end this one. Do either of you have any last thoughts before we end the revelry?
Yeah, I thought it was great for once to see the alternative media happy, and because since COVID,
you've cut out for me, Floyd.
Everything's been negative, and just to see them all with smiles. Saying, since COVID, everything was sad. Now they're all happy, smiles on their faces. So yeah, not good to see.
Yep, no, I agree with that. That was it, yeah. We took a break from doom and gloom. Not just not that we're a powerful voice in the alternative media, but on the whole, we got to take a break from the doom and gloom. Yeah, I'm with you there. Max, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I mean,
vile, a little racist shit.
Yeah, I'll end on something a little bit more articulate than just joking about being racist. Those 6-7 points you brought up about libertarian factors with the Trump election win. Really interesting to follow those and see how they play out. I mean, it's easy to celebrate because Kamala didn't win and all that, but we still have to look at this in a libertarian perspective. So yeah, here's to analyzing that over the next 4 years.
Yeah, I think, and even earlier than that, I think a lot of those are day one stuff, and like a lot of those are within the first few months. We'll know whether he's done them or not, so that we will definitely hone in on that sometimes.
That's why you got to subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date.
Absolutely.
That's right. If you don't already, you can follow us on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, and X or Twitter, or Apple Podcasts. But other than that, we will catch you next time.
Catch you later.
Take it easy.
Too big to rig, baby.